the next agenda item. So our last item for today is 3H. It's an update on the development of the pre-K to 3 early childhood education specialist credential, proposed authorization statement, draft teaching performance expectations, proposed credential requirements, and draft program standards for PK to 3 early childhood education specialist credential preparation program. This item is for us to provide CTC with feedback and direction from the commission for them to be able to proceed with next steps to ensure a well-trained early childhood credential workforce to work with the continuum. So this is an information item, and our action is simply to provide feedback. We are not approving anything today, and I just want to make that really clear for all of us on the commission and for folks who are listening. And also, this is just another opportunity for folks to give feedback. So this item is going to be presented by Phyllis Jacobson and Deborah Keeler, and we're going to lead off with Executive Director Sandy, and then she'll pass on to Phyllis. So thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We actually have had a bit of a change in the lineup of speakers. We'll begin with Phyllis Jacobson and then move to Deborah Stipek, who has been a member of our work groups on early childhood for many years, and then Cassandra Henderson from our staff and Sarah Neville Morgan from the Department of Education. I'll remind you of those names when we get to that point. We are so pleased to bring this item to you today, and it reflects many years of work that is coming together right now to provide a credentialing structure that supports Governor Newsom's bold initiative to establish universal transitional kindergarten for all 4-year-olds by 2025. Our efforts to build an early childhood specialist credential are intended to make sure that our 4-year-olds have access to teachers who are well prepared and specifically prepared to meet their needs. The credential will not be ready by August, when many 4-year-olds will be showing up and looking for their TK classroom and their teacher and their opportunity. But we will need it, and we need to begin work to really build it and get it ready so that we do have a pathway to a credential for this field as soon as possible. We've been working very closely with the California Department of Education to support the overall implementation of UTK, and we're grateful to Sarah Neville Morgan for taking time, and members of her team who are also with us today, to shed light on that overall effort. This is the first time that all of the materials included in your agenda item have been brought together in one place. It is a complex agenda item with many details that dig deep into the technology of credentialing. This is like a supercharged seminar on the engineering of credentials for some people. So please ask questions and seek clarification as we go, and we will make it, and we'll demystify it to the very best of our ability. So we have been meeting in recent weeks, and actually since we began the work on our work group on early childhood, but in the last 6 weeks or so, we've had opportunities to meet with the baccalaureate level child development program faculty across our sectors of higher education, with the Peach community, with the California Community College early childhood education faculty, and with others to engage and hear their questions and their concerns as all of this comes to light for the first time. We've heard some concerns and want to respect and attend to those concerns as we engage in this process. First, there's concern about the speed with which this is moving. I think that the fact that this item was listed as information action may have signaled to the field that we might be adopting something today, and they hadn't yet had an opportunity to present their thoughts or to engage with us. And I appreciate, Madam Chair of the committee, that you reiterated this is not for adoption today. This item is intended for information and to begin the next stage of engagement with the whole system idea and with our educational partners. And of course, commissioners, we always begin with you. You are our standards board, and this is where our work starts and then moves out into the field. We've heard concerns from these communities in recent weeks about underrepresentation of their views and the views of the field captured and presented in this agenda item. That's regrettable, but this is just one moment and one document, and there will be many opportunities in the coming weeks and months to ensure that we do engage with those views and bring a more comprehensive review of that to you for your consideration. There have been concerns raised that those who are deeply engaged right now and have been for decades in preparing the early childhood workforce have not had and may not get the opportunity to participate in the development of this new credential. Nothing could be further from the truth. We are at the stage now of having had a work group bring their best thoughts together, and it's ready for presentation and discussion. And it's going to take us months of deeper engagement with our educational partners to bring the next piece forward for you. There have been concerns that the options for serving in transitional kindergarten are not sufficiently grounded in child development and early childhood education practices to ensure that we have a well-prepared teaching force who understand developmentally appropriate practice that is grounded in a knowledge of children and child development. These concerns are important for us to hear and important for us to attend to, and confirming in many ways, I hear these as confirming concerns, that what we're trying to establish with this credential is a pathway that is grounded in child development and an understanding of the young children and their needs in the classroom, so that we get that right. We have this extraordinary moment of opportunity to do this and to get it right. And I think we have the right people at this table and in our field who are engaging with us. So we appreciate the opportunity to engage and to bring the expertise of the field to bear on the development of this new credential. And this meeting, as I've said, is a real starting point for the continued engagement that we plan to have with our educational partners regarding a new early childhood specialist credential. We also would like to assuage concerns to the extent we possibly can, and remind you, we are not taking action to adopt anything at this point. That said, until the state has an early childhood specialist credential grounded in child development and focused on developmentally appropriate practice for children in preschool through third grade, we will have to rely on the credentials that we have that are not grounded or focused in any particular way towards the early childhood space that is really the center of this new credential. The proposed early childhood specialist credential was intended by design to serve as a bridge document. We have a large number of people who are currently working in our early childhood space with our 4-year-olds, many of whom hold a baccalaureate degree and a child development teacher permit. This credential is intended to serve as a bridge for their seamless movement into a credential and into the preschool through grade 3 teaching space, a bridge that recognizes the preparation they have, the experience they have, and the knowledge that they have, augmented by what they need to know in order to bring their expertise into the K-3 space, beyond the pre-K space they've been working in. Similarly, the early childhood specialist credential is intended to provide a bridge for existing credential holders to augment their preparation and experience by bringing learning and opportunity to learn about child development and early childhood pedagogies and curriculum to bear on what they're doing. As a bridge credential, this is intended to provide, first and foremost, seamless pathways for those existing workforces to get to a common understanding of what it means to serve children effectively in the pre-K through grade 3 space. It will also stand as an opportunity for young people, perhaps as early as high school, to indicate this is, and who maybe are doing career technical education opportunities in early childhood education, to transition into their community colleges and go deep into that work and maybe earn their AA and child development permit and work in some of the lab schools that we have around the state as they work their way through a baccalaureate degree and a credential and become a part of the core of early childhood specialist credential holders. Exciting opportunities. Those 3 opportunities really exist with this credential by design, by intent of the commission staff, by our policy partners, and by the work group that has been bringing this forward to you. So the sooner we have a credential and adopt teaching performance expectations and program standards, the sooner we can begin building pathways through preparation to earn that credential and serve in our schools. That said, we will not bring these items to you with a recommendation for adoption until we're sure that they're ready, until we have had adequate time to develop them and engage in the field work that we need to do and that we're in the process of doing to bring it forward to you. So I'm glad for the opportunity to frame some of our expectations and reflect on the concerns and issues that have been surfaced to date for us. I'm going to turn it over now to Dr. Phyllis Jacobson, who has been our point person and lead staff organizer for all issues early childhood for many years now. And she will be joined by Deborah Stipek, Professor Emeritus at Stanford University. She'll be joining us via Zoom. Hello, Deborah. Good to see you on the screen. Followed by Cassandra Henderson, who is a consultant on our professional services division. She's been working with our performance assessment team on an early childhood pilot performance assessment. So that's exciting work that's also coming to the table. And then Sarah Neville Morgan will be our cleanup hitter in terms of the panel presentation. Sarah is the Deputy Superintendent over the Teaching and Learning Support Division at the California Department of Education, and tasked with putting together the whole constellation of work to launch Universal Transitional Kindergarten. So with that, Madam Chair, I'll turn it over to Dr. Jacobson.
Thank you, Dr. Sandy, and good morning, Commissioners. Today, we are bringing to you for information, as you've just heard from our Executive Director, an update on efforts to develop 4 foundational components for a repurposed and retooled PK3 Early Childhood Specialist Credential. These components include the Draft Authorization Statement, Draft Teaching Performance Expectations, or TPEs, Draft Credential Requirements with options for the Commission's consideration, and preparation program standards for this credential. In addition, candidate pathways and multiple options for candidates within those pathways are also provided for your consideration, along with some additional candidate and program options that were suggested by the ECE Credentialing Workgroup. You know, the Commission has been involved with transformational work in early childhood education for several years now. In 2015, the Commission joined in a collaborative effort with multiple other state agencies and communities of interest following the landmark publication of the Transforming the Workforce Birth Through 8 report. And we did this work to re-envision the preparation, licensure, support, and career ladder development of the ECE workforce. Several prior agenda items that are referenced in Appendix A provide the history and the outcomes of these prior collaborative efforts. The release of the state's new master plan for early learning and care in 2020 further informed the direction for renewing and updating the preparation of early childhood teachers, administrators, and support personnel. Direction from the master plan also included developing a new PK3 ECE credential, as proposed in this agenda item, that provides for multiple points of entry and multiple pathways and options for earning the credential, and includes bridges to this credential for a variety of candidates. The preschool development grant renewal funding, which we have previously reported to you, provided an opportunity to help child development permit preparation programs become familiar with and work towards incorporating the Commission's adopted ECE TPEs, and to work towards preparation and coursework and fieldwork that incorporated these. It also helped us develop and pilot a formative teaching performance assessment based on the teacher level TPEs, and to develop and pilot a program quality peer review process for permit preparation programs. All of that work also helped to inform the thinking behind and the development of the PK3 ECE Specialist Credential as presented in the agenda item. The governor's budget and legislative actions starting in 2021 supported the development and statewide expansion of UTK, intended to ultimately provide access for all 4-year-olds. California, as you know, is experiencing a shortage of qualified ECE teachers, estimated as perhaps as many as 11,000 additional teachers needed for full UTK implementation. The PK-ECE Specialist Credential is designed and intended to help meet this shortage of qualified, diverse teachers for TK implementation to serve California's diverse young learners and their families and guardians with developmentally, culturally, linguistically appropriate, collaborative teaching and learning experiences. The process for candidates to earn this credential is intended to include intentional bridges to this credential for child development permit holders, as well as multiple subject credential holders, and also brand new candidates interested in a career in early childhood teaching. At the September 2021 Commission meeting, staff presented a rationale and a plan to move forward with establishing an expert work group tasked with advising the Commission on what the requirements should be for this retooled PK3 ECE specialist credential, and also to help identify candidate pathways and options for earning this new credential. The Commission directed staff to move forward to establish the work group, and staff began the recruitment process for ECE content experts to serve on the ECE credentialing work group. An open application process was conducted in November 2021, and the executive director appointed the 30-member ECE work group in early December 2021. The work group members and their affiliations are provided for you in Appendix B. The work group met 5 times between December 16, 2021 and March 10 of 2022, and the results of their work are presented in this item. A summary of the topics discussed at each of the work group meetings is provided in Appendix C. Commission staff appreciate the dedication of the ECE workgroup members to their task and the thoroughness of their expert input. In addition to the recommendations and suggestions provided by the ECE workgroup, an initial series of public engagement and input opportunities regarding the proposed PK3 credential was provided during February and March of 2022. And with this historical context, I would like now to turn this over to Dr. Deborah Stipek, who, in addition to her other professional responsibilities, served as a member of the ECE credentialing work group.
Thank you, Phyllis. I think Mary asked me to speak today because I've been advocating for something like a P3 teacher credential in California for so many years. California is one of the only states that does not have a teacher credential focused on young children. And the multiple subject credential, which is in 1 year, is supposed to prepare people to teach children from preschool through 8th grade, can't possibly prepare people to work effectively with 4-year-olds. So I was delighted to be on the task force that worked on the draft you're reviewing today. I was really impressed with the broad representation of faculty from both community and 4-year colleges, practitioners from preschool and elementary schools, district leaders and professional organization representatives, even researchers like me. And also, I was impressed with the goodwill and thoughtfulness of participants. People really listened to each other, and they were extremely committed to the task. Mary asked me to talk a bit about the process of the task force. The process made sense to me. We started developing TPEs, teacher performance expectations for P3, which had to be done first because they're needed to guide the design of the credential. We examined the multiple subject TPEs, the early childhood special education TPEs, and the TPEs that were recently adopted by the Commission for the Child Development Permit. We pulled out items that were important for P3, tweaked the wording of some, added a few that we believed were missing. These were then reviewed by the field, and I understand that nearly 1,000 surveys were received, which is extraordinary. It, I think, reflects the deep interest in this credential in the field. Some of the surveys offered some suggestions for tweaks. I think anyone who looked at the TPEs that were developed for P3 would probably want to tweak them here or there, but I think as they are, they represent both research on effective teaching and consensus in the field pretty well. I suspect that this is a situation where further tweaking would not necessarily make them better, just a little bit different. We then moved on to discuss credential requirements. The conversations were organized around the elements of the multiple subject credential requirements: basic skills, subject matter competencies, preparation programs, clinical practice, teaching performance assessments, and reading instruction competencies. In general, the group held the position that the P3 credential should be different, but just as rigorous as the multiple subject credential. I think we still have some work to do on the requirements. The TPEs are pretty much good to go, in my opinion, but there are still some issues related to the requirements that need more attention and some discussion. And I'll give you just a few examples of things that I think we need to deal with. How do we measure subject matter competency? Some in the group, me included, didn't think the multiple subject CSET was appropriate for P3. Should grades be specified for practice teaching? Should we, for example, require some of the 600 hours to be in a preschool or a traditional kindergarten classroom? Should teacher performance assessments be used, or which teacher performance assessment should be used? Should we give a choice? Should we require the one developed for early childhood, the one that is used for multiple subject, or should we create some kind of integrated version as we did for the TPEs? What role will community colleges play in preparing students who will be entering programs that allow them to receive a BA and the P3 teaching credentials simultaneously? For example, one question that was raised was, can practicum taken in community college count toward the 600-hour requirement for clinical practice? So I have spent a lot of time in the field talking to folks who are currently preparing people to get the child teaching permit, as well as people in four-year colleges. And one thing that is very clear to me is that a great deal of work will need to be done to develop these P3 programs that provide students with both a solid background in both child development and a solid background and knowledge of pedagogy. The state's going to need to provide funding to help develop these programs. They're going to require organizational changes in colleges and universities, new faculty, new partnerships with community colleges, and resources to support clinical practice. So I want to make sure that we go into this realistically, understanding that this isn't something that can just be implemented on a dime. So I realize that the work on the P3 credential has moved quickly, but as Mary pointed out, it has to. We'll need at least 10,000 new TK teachers in the next few years. And we need to create programs that are appropriate for people who want to teach in them. If we don't prepare teachers appropriately, we're going to do California four-year-olds a disservice. So I'm grateful to the Commission for seizing the moment and doing the work required to get this P3 credential going. It's about time. So thank you.
Madam Chair, thank you so much, Deborah Stipek. I think we're now moving to Cassandra Henderson.
Yes, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. I will present an overview of the four major components of the proposed PK3 ECE specialist credential requirements. Can you hear me? Okay. Presented in the item, and I'll begin with component A. Component A is the authorization statement, which is located on page 4. Every credential issued by the Commission contains an authorization statement, which frames what the credential holder, what services they're allowed to perform. The proposed authorization statement for the PK3 ECE specialist credential reads, this credential authorizes the holder to teach all subjects in a self-contained general education classroom setting, and as a self-contained classroom teacher, to team teach or to regroup students across classrooms in preschool through grade 3. Component B is the draft PK3 ECE specialist teaching performance expectations, or TPEs, for the proposed PK3 ECE credential. TPEs provide detail about what new ECE teachers need to know and be able to demonstrate. The draft PK3 specialist credential TPEs are provided in Appendix E. The proposed PK3 ECE specialist credential TPEs integrate the job role expectations of early childhood educators at the PK level and the TK through 3 levels, and they were aligned with the ECE TPEs, the multiple subject TPEs, the early childhood education specialist TPEs, the literacy TPEs, and are aligned to NACE, the National Association for the Education of Young Children standards. The draft PK3 ECE specialist TPEs have undergone a field review survey facilitated by the Glenn Price Group, GPG. A total of 974 survey responses were received and analyzed by GPG and Commission staff. Survey respondents represented a wide range of field segments and hold a variety of credentials, including both child development permits and TK through 12 credentials. The draft PK3 ECE Specialist Credential TPEs are located in Appendix D. And additionally, please see the survey report in Appendix E. Next, I will share Component C, the proposed requirements for earning the PK3 ECE Specialist Credential. Please turn to pages 7 and 8 in the agenda item. This is Table 1, and it's continued from page 7 to page 8. Table 1 on pages 7 and 8 provides information for each proposed requirement. That's on the far left-hand side, and the applicable education code sections, and then a description of the requirement. The majority of these requirements are required for all teaching credentials currently issued by the Commission. Table 1 describes the proposed requirements, including basic skills, the completion of a bachelor's degree, subject matter competence, the completion of a teacher preparation program, the completion of a teaching performance assessment or TPA, and the completion of the reading instruction competence assessment known as the RICA. In the last row, Table 1 also includes information about the apportionment requirement under EC 48,000 for teachers whose employers seek funding for TK and who choose option 1, 24 units, as the means to meet this requirement. Within Table 1, it is items 1 through 5 on that far left-hand side that are required for all teaching credentials currently issued by the Commission. And therefore, these served as an organizer for the work with the work group to consider how they might be met for an ECE specialist. Item 6 is required for multiple subject and special education credentials. And on pages 10 through 16 of the Commission item, you see tables 2 through 8 that provide the current options for meeting each of the proposed PK3 ECE specialist credential requirements, along with any additional options proposed by the work group for the Commission's consideration, including the means by which these options could be made available to candidates should the Commission at a future meeting choose to adopt any of these additional options. Now, please turn to page 10 for Table 2. In Table 2, which is basic skills, there are already 8 options available for candidates, some of which include coursework options in addition to the CBEST option. 4 additional options were suggested by the ECE work group for consideration, including passing the TOEFL to verify English reading and writing proficiency, allowing a high school diploma to serve as meeting the basic skills, lowering or eliminating the cost of the CBEST, and lowering the prior coursework grade requirement to C rather than B. Most of these options would require a statute change in education code. Now let's go to page 11, please, and let's look at Table 3 together. For Table 3, subject matter competency, there are 4 available candidate options, including non-examination coursework options. The ECE work group suggested an additional 6 options, including allowing the completion of a BA degree, including 24 units of ECE or child development to meet that requirement, developing a new CSET for grades PK through 3, allowing older prior coursework with respect to recency to count towards the coursework option, and allowing a BA degree and a child development permit and or relevant experience to meet the requirement. Most of these suggested options would require new regulations. If we go to pages 12 through 16, you will see tables 4 through 8. I'm just going to give a quick overview of those. These tables provide similar examples of existing pathways to meet these requirements, along with suggested additional options, if any, suggested by the ECE work group, and what it would take to enact those additional options. Please turn to page 18, and we'll move on to Table 9. Table 9 provides a range of access points, pathways, and options for meeting PK3 ECE specialist credential requirements. I want to emphasize that this table is just a sampling of potential candidates and does not represent a complete list of all the types of candidates who might be interested in this credential. Each candidate's unique situation would need to be considered regarding the requirements a candidate might have already met through prior coursework and/or experience, and multiple options and potential combinations of options reduce barriers to obtaining the proposed PK3 ECE specialist credential. Component D is the draft PK3 ECE specialist preparation program standards. These proposed draft standards parallel the multiple subject and single subject program standards with modifications to fit the specific context of focused PK3 preparation. In addition, because of the critical importance of addressing the issues of equity, inclusion, and diversity, these draft standards include a new standard for entitled Equity, Inclusion, and Diversity to assure that teacher candidates are well prepared to provide equitable opportunities to learn for all the diverse students in California public schools. Adding this new standard brings the total proposed program standards to 7 rather than the 6 presently adopted standards for multiple subject credential preparation programs. The draft PK3 ECE Specialist Credential Program standards will soon undergo a field survey conducted by GPG with commission staff assistance. Survey results are not available at this time, but will be presented in June. The draft PK3 ECE Specialist Credential Program standards are provided in Appendix G. Commissioners, please notice that the table on page 21 provided of next steps has been augmented. A copy of the revised table has been shared with you. During the next couple of months prior to the June commission meeting, CTC staff will work collaboratively with educational partners and communities of interest to provide additional opportunities for feedback and discussion. The next presenter is Sarah Neville Morgan, Deputy Superintendent of Public Instruction.
Thanks so much, Commissioners, for having me here today. Sarah Neville Morgan, Deputy Superintendent of Public Instruction for the California Department of Education. Thanks to the bold leadership and the unprecedented investments in the Budget Act of 2021 and the proposed investments in the 2022-23 state budget, California is poised to realize universal pre-kindergarten, or UPK, for all 4-year-old children and expand access to the California State Preschool Program for at-promise 3-year-olds. This is the opportunity that California's children and families have been waiting for, an early learning experience for all children, centered on equity that will close opportunity gaps and put every child on the path to success in school and in life. The whole of the research taken together shows that high-quality pre-K works. A meta-analysis of 22 high-quality experimental and quasi-experimental studies conducted between 1960 and 2016 found results that support pre-K's utility for reducing mid and long-term education-related expenditures and promoting child well-being. The research also demonstrates the need for continuity and cohesion between pre-K and the early grades, the power of pre-K to 3rd grade alignment, with those aligned standards, competencies, curriculum, assessments, and professional learning. Success in the face of this tremendous opportunity of UPK requires the combined efforts of partners, practitioners, researchers, and others from across a wide range of sectors, settings, and geographies. The CDE has been working in close partnership with CTC to execute an inclusive and collaborative and above all statewide engagement planning and implementation process that capitalizes on the talents and passions of California's greatest resources, its people. As part of this process, the CDE has heard clearly from both school districts and their partners that one of the biggest challenges the state faces in successfully implementing UPK and ensuring that children reap the benefits from early learning experience that we know is possible is staffing. No surprise to any of you, it always comes down to those educators. We need to be able to ensure our UPK classrooms, especially transitional kindergarten and our state preschool classrooms, are staffed with qualified educators who understand and can apply both the development of young children and the pedagogy of successful intentional instruction. The CDE agrees the TPEs developed by the CTC in consultation with their work group achieve these goals masterfully. Policymakers that are serious about providing high-quality early learning opportunities have focused their attention on setting clear expectations for educators' knowledge and skills, supporting educators to reach those expectations, and establishing mechanisms for ongoing program improvement. The urgency of California's need to support a robust UPK teacher pipeline cannot be overstated. In your earlier agenda item, you were talking about the pipeline and the issues. Younger children will move into TK starting this August. And by 2025-26, all children who are 4 by September 1st will be eligible to be served in a TK classroom. All 4-year-olds. A pause in our work to develop a credential would then create layered other delays in designing our coursework and establishing programs to implement the credential. This should not be one of our options. We have a tremendous scale of staffing needs. Not only can we serve up to 345,000 more preschoolers, we also know that other education programs, such as expanded learning, will also be part of this, so that our children will receive a full day of learning and care, and that we have about, our numbers in California are always staggering, 425,000 3-year-olds who are now not served by our subsidized programs. This creates opportunities to serve more and more. Right now in state preschool, we only serve 13% of eligible 3-year-olds, 13%. California has a long way to go, but that puts a demand on a teacher and educator workforce. We will need at least 9,000 and up to 15,000 additional TK teachers. Alongside that demand for a highly qualified workforce is also one for state preschool, Head Start, and other pre-K and childcare programs. The opportunity for California for our children and families is clear, but this also creates new opportunities for our early education workforce, as well as for our K-12 and expanded learning workforces. For far too long, the chasm between the compensation and the benefits that are accessible for teachers of preschoolers and teachers of early elementary students has been wide. As our master plan for early learning and care states, California can advance equity by ensuring the early learning and care workforce has access to learning opportunities, supports for pursuing them, compensation that aligns to qualifications, and authentic, unbiased, and straightforward pathways to career advancement, regardless of race, gender, age, culture, primary language, geographic location, or the setting one works in. Approximately 70% of the early childhood workforce are women of color, with Hispanic teachers having the highest representation, followed by Asian and Black. In the TK to 12 workforce, only 39% are teachers of color. We have an opportunity for us to push up our equity issue around our teachers. This is why implementation of UPK in California must create pathways for both our existing K-12 teachers and our current preschool teachers, particularly those with extensive experience teaching 4-year-olds and those who reflect the diversity of California's children, to bridge the divide and access opportunities to be paid and compensated in the TK to 12 system. The Center for the Study of Child Care Employment estimated there were approximately 84,000 center-based teachers and 45,000 family child care teachers in 2020. 5% of the teachers, including those in family child care, and 13% of center directors had a multiple subjects teaching credential already there. And another 37% of those teachers met or exceeded the requirements for TK of 24 college units in ECE. These teachers need a pathway to teach TK. Our children need them in the classroom, our schools need them, and our educators deserve the opportunity to advance. Like those in any other career, early learning professionals should be able to earn a living wage and have the ability to advance their careers and their incomes through the demonstration of additional competencies and the adoption of new roles with greater responsibilities. This is exactly what the P3 Early Childhood Specialist Credential is designed to do. Create multiple pathways for educators, both in the early childhood workforce and in the K-12 workforce, to ensure all members of our UPK workforce have the appropriate knowledge, skills, and abilities to teach young children. Right now, the only path in teaching a TK classroom is through a multiple subjects credential. The P3 Early Childhood Specialist Credential gives us the opportunity to center equity by building in needed flexibility to recognize the expertise and experience of existing early childhood educators through multiple pathways and options for meeting credential requirements. For our child development permit holders, for our multiple subject holders, and for new candidates. This creates a formal mechanism for the 24 ECE units required in statute for teaching TK. Some might ask, why not start at infancy for this? Why are we just starting at preschool when we know that child development in its earliest years is just as critical? One emerging research finding from effective pre-K is that pre-K needs to be aligned into the early grades in order to sustain and even accelerate those early gains. This truly requires a P3 deep pedagogical frame. The transition to and the quality of the early elementary grades is what has been found to be the lasting impacts. And that what happens once children enter kindergarten and move on in those early grades also matter. Early elementary experiences can either accelerate children's development, may change children's skills, catch up, or even contribute to children's disengagement from school. We recognize that importance and really want to make sure the P3 alignment ensures our curriculum and instruction are aligned in the early grade and that teachers' PD opportunities focus on providing them the flexibility and the tools. The P3 Early Childhood Specialist Credential not only meets our UPK staffing needs head on, it creates that foundation for preschool to third grade alignment, which we know is critical to sustaining the gains children can make in high quality early learning programs. By ensuring teachers across the early elementary years are prepared according to the principles of developmental knowledge, skills, and abilities pushed up from early childhood, beginning at TK, rather than having early elementary practices pushed down into preschool. So in conclusion, this is the opportunity that California and folks like me who've been working in our early childhood fields for decades, I've been working on UPK since 2003, and it's finally here. Never give up. We can't afford to miss our moment. California's children, families, and educators are depending on us. I'm happy to say that the work the CTC has done to advance the P3 Early Childhood Specialist Credential is an enormous step towards ensuring we get it right now when our schools are opening their doors and classrooms. To note the need, San Diego opened up for more children this year, and within that first day of opening, every single classroom was filled. Every single classroom. We need our teachers for this. So while we recognize it's a significant undertaking, we also recognize the urgency and that nothing is perfect at first. The sooner we get started, the more we can make our necessary improvements, and the sooner we can build the workforce needed for California's UPK transformational system. Thank you so much.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Jacobson, Ms. Keeler, and our two outside speakers, Sarah Neville Morgan and Deborah Stipek, for calling in from Zoom. This is an amazing moment for California, and we're going to move to public comment. I just first want to appreciate you guys for the urgency, the thoughtfulness, the transparency, and the inclusiveness you've brought to us today to help us prepare a workforce for us to be able to offer universal preschool and transitional kindergarten to families and their children. So thank you very much. We will now open for public comment. If there are members of the public that would like to give a presentation, please notify the meeting moderator by submitting a request card. For those who are on Zoom, click your raise hand icon. And for those who are on phone, just press *9 if you're participating by phone. Public comments will be limited to 1 minute. You'll see there's a blue sky timer if you're on Zoom. If you're here, it's on the screen. And so we'll limit it to 1 minute since we have multiple public comments. And we want to make sure we are able to maximize the number of folks who want to speak. So you will hear a buzzer at the 1 minute mark and have you guys close your comments around there. So recording secretary, are there any public comments?
Yes, we'll start with those in the room. Danette Brown, please approach the microphone and share your comment.
Hi, Danette Brown, and I'm speaking today on behalf of the California Teachers Association. First and foremost, everything Dr. Stipek said, yes, I was a proud member of this work group. The staff, phenomenal. The Glenn Price group, so helpful when you have someone taking the notes and facilitating. And the fellow panel members, so smart. And we were all so committed to doing something hard and doing it well. So shout out to everybody. While this process may seem a little rushed to some people, I was able to find 15 agenda items from 2015 where we've been talking about the need to do something for our early childhood, for the students and the people providing the support. So for those reasons, we feel like this is the time to move on it. The California Teachers Association supports a draft authorization statement. We're good with that. The draft TPEs, we're good with that. Our main concern are the requirements. We do not believe that the TPA and the RECA are fully baked because the California Teachers Association believes that all candidate assessment should be tied to current standards and expectations. So until those are, we don't believe that we should put our candidates through that. It could be a barrier to the workforce and to recruiting a diverse workforce. So for that reason, we would encourage further conversation on that item. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good to see you in person. Recording secretary.
Renee Marshall, please approach the microphone and share your comment.
Ms. Marshall, did you touch the green? Thank you.
I was a kindergarten teacher, so I assume my voice is going to carry the room. Renee Marshall, California Community College Teacher Preparation Programs. I am the proud co-lead of the ECE Community of Practice that we've been running for the last few years. But I come from K-12. I'm a teacher. I'm trained as a principal, and I've been both a kindergarten and a preschool teacher. I come to you with 2 requests and 2 offers. I'm requesting that we work together on shared vocabulary. As somebody who's been in both of our systems, there's fears of TPEs, there's fears of credential versus certification, there's fears of CSET when CSET was never, testing wasn't a requirement for our certification. And so we need to come together for shared vocabulary. My second request also, can we please talk to our high school dual enrollment students? We have students right now that are on this pathway and they'll tell you they're afraid of math. And that's why they're not going to become a K-12 teacher. So how do we address that early? 2 quick offers. We have massive listservs across our system of ECE faculty and stakeholders. You are open to those. Anything that needs to go out, we're here to be true collaborative partners. Second request or second offering, space. Please continue to open these spaces for discussion. The community college system is having an ECE EDU collective symposium on May 13th. I hope all of you come to it, because it's a virtual event where we're coming together to figure out how do we work together where every voice feels valued. Because in ECE, you've got a lot of people that have been around a long time and they feel like it's an us against them. We all want qualified teachers for our children and families. We all have the same foundational goal. So I look forward to working together more, and thank you for the opportunity to speak together. Appreciate it.
Great, thank you. Madam Secretary, do we have other public comments?
Mary Jane Fong, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
We can.
Great. Thank you. I am Mary Jane McGuire Fong, Professor Emerita, Early Childhood Education, American River College. We need an ECE specialist credential built on a comprehensive course of study leading to a bachelor's degree in ECE. But my urgent concern is this: the proposed credential treats early childhood as if it begins at age 3. The authorization for the existing early childhood specialist credential is, and I quote, grades 3 and below. I question why the commission staff recommend changing it to age 3 through 3rd grade. I urge you to authorize this as a birth through 3rd grade credential. I am not alone in this. UC Berkeley's Center for the Study of Childcare Employment recommends that this credential reflect the birth to 8 continuum. Our early childhood education teachers, our program, early childhood education teacher preparation programs, are prepared to prepare candidates birth to 8, not 3 to 8. Birth to 8 is a unique and precious period of development and learning. As written, this proposal exacerbates a cruel fact. The younger the learner, the lower the teacher pay. It simply shifts the wage gap. The inequity remains. Please do not deny our youngest learners the right to have access to a pedagogical support team prepared with an ECE specialist credential. Thank you.
Thank you. Madam Secretary will just continue to go through the virtual comments and will let us know when it's ended. And I just really encourage folks, like, we are very much going over our 1 minute time. So if folks can really stay within the 1 minute, just keep your comments concise, and hopefully we can get through all our public comments.
Lorraine Chow, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hello, my name is Lorraine Chow, and I am a full-time ECE faculty member at American River College, and I've been teaching there since 1997. Please view this early childhood specialist credential through an equity lens. Every system is exquisitely designed to get the results that it produces. What results will this early childhood specialist credential be producing? What populations will benefit? What obstacles and barriers will it be producing, and which populations will be facing these challenges? Whose voices and needs are included or excluded? An equity-minded early childhood teaching credential must include birth to 3 years. Equity-minded funding must provide full-day care for children and families. Please create an equity-minded early childhood specialist credential that includes birth to 3rd grade. Thank you.
Thank you.
Janet Davis, please unmute your microphone and share your comment. Ms. Davis, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
I did do that, but it somehow undid itself. Thank you. Janet Davis. Now I'm unmuted, right?
We can hear you, Janet.
Okay, thanks. Representing the California Federation of Teachers, I want to thank you and the experts for the work on this PK Early Education Specialist credential. One little thing, and I'll say it quickly because I have a minute, that I noticed in the earlier report, there was a decline of 14.6% of these CD permits issued. And I just wondered if there was an explanation for that decline. Second, I think I had an opportunity to talk to the CFT early childhood teachers, and they didn't know about all these opportunities, all these bridges that are going to be offered. They're very worried. And I think some of the programs like the Classified School Employees Teacher Credential Grant, they were completely unaware that that might be an option for those who don't have a bachelor's degree already. So I think communication to those people and maybe using the CTC website as a place for unifying resources would be really helpful for them. Thank you.
Helen Davis, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Very much. Hello, I'm Dr. Helen Davis, faculty at UCLA Extension and Peach member. I'm on the ECE TPA design team and was on the ECE PK to 3rd working group. We need to review, reimagine, and restart the ECE credential process. I have a master's degree from Bank Street College Education, a doctoral degree from Harvard University, and a Fulbright Fellowship in Early Childhood Education. I very much appreciate Sarah Neville Morgan's comments. I'm here to highlight the limited inclusion of developmentally appropriate practice in the work on the PK to 3rd credential to date. Despite Herculean efforts by the CTC, it has become clear to me that the writers of the credential components must be ECE professionals. Getting the early childhood education specialist credential wrong will have long-term negative effects on California's children. Research confirms that school-based programs for 4-year-olds harm young children with far-reaching negative impacts when children do not have teachers who are ECE or child development trained. I want to see the process slowed down for reimagination and restart. Thank you.
Sandra Mo, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hello, I am a child development IHE faculty and a PEACH member. We need to review, reimagine, and restart this process. All pathways to the PK3 specialist credential, including the multiple subject pathway, must require an early childhood bachelor's degree. If that's not possible, if the 24 units remain for multiple subject, these must be 12 units of lower division and 12 units of upper division with one supervised practicum with preschool children. And so these are our suggestions for reimagining and restarting this process. Thank you.
Carol Gossett, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Thank you. I'm Dr. Carol Gossett, Fresno Pacific University, Director and Faculty of the Early Childhood Development Programs. I feel it necessary to stress the importance of maintaining the requirement of the 24 units of ECE coursework for multiple subject teachers, as stated in EC 48,000. I urge you to eliminate option B under the description of the requirement. Prior experience in preschool classroom does not guarantee the educator understands best practices and the multiple development domains for 3 to 5-year-olds. Just as the Commission holds high standards for subject matter competencies for multiple subject credentialed teachers as determined by coursework and success on the CSET exams, you must continue high standards for educating children 3 to 5-year-olds. Competencies for these young learners are much different than those for educating 7, 8, and 9-year-olds. The liberal studies and the multiple subjects degrees do not do this sufficiently. Please eliminate B in the 24 units requirement. Don't give loopholes and grandfather opportunities. Thank you.
Charlene Murphy, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hi, I'm a part-time community college instructor. I've been teaching for more than 25 years for Yuba Community College District in Los Rios. And I would like to see the pre-K credential include the CAP Classic courses as part of the 24 required ECE units, because students need to have that background knowledge, specifically the child growth and development class, child family community, observation and assessment, and then there are a few others. So I would like to see those CAP Classic courses included in the 24 required ECE units. Thank you.
Denise Kennedy, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hi, I'm Denise Kennedy. I have earned a doctorate degree or PhD from the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, as well as a postdoctoral research fellow at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor in developmental psychology. I am a faculty member at a CSU and a PEACH member, and I ask that you slow down this process that's presented to you so that we can reimagine and create something that makes sense. I'm on a TPA design team, and a pilot is launched this month. And I can tell you, as I have been attending these and engaging, that very little of our feedback is being utilized on this pilot. And you are being told that the work is collaborative and that we all agree with these items, yet we do not feel they are appropriate. We would like to slow this process down. Look at page 60 on the master plan. IHEs are to design and implement the credential. Many of our programs are ready to do this and create a credential that is not pushed down, as Dr. Neville Morgan from CDE mentioned. We want to push up PK into third grade, not push down K-12 into early childhood. That is not appropriate. Research indicates this. If we look at the Vanderbilt study from Tennessee, as well as studies in North Carolina, we do not want to make the same mistakes. So let's reimagine this and slow this process down. Thank you.
Hannah Melnick, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Thanks so much. Hannah Melnick, Senior Policy Advisor at the Learning Policy Institute. LPI really appreciates all of CTC's work to develop this P3 credential. Since research shows that early educators, including those who teach TK, need specific competencies unique to early childhood. We project that in the next 5 years, California will need roughly 12 to 15,500 additional TK teachers who hold early childhood competencies. In our research and other states that have a P3 credential, we learned a few lessons. First, the scale up is going to require investments in higher ed. For example, when New Jersey rapidly expanded its preschool program, it provided grants to P3 credential programs. Second, clearly articulated supports and financial aid are going to be key to making this teaching credential accessible, including to early childhood educators in the field. And third, states need multiple paths to a credential. LPI has a forthcoming report on these pathways, including a brief on how to build P3 residency programs. Thank you, and again, we appreciate CTC's work on this issue.
Marcia Peralta, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Good morning. My name is Marcia Peralta. I'm an early education professor and an early trauma specialist. I call for a pause to this proposal as written and a revisioning of a robust evidence-based credential that covers the full span of early education, birth to 8, as recommended by UC Berkeley's Center for the Study of Child Care Employment. Without significant revision, this credential shifts the wage gap and exacerbates racial and social inequities. The unintended consequences will weigh heavily on the backs of families with the greatest need for full-day programs, result in long-term harm to our youngest learners who are 0 to 3, and further marginalize the infant teaching workforce. This is wrong, and I hope the commissioners will consider the rights of all children to learn, including our youngest learners. Please put a pause on this and let's do a robust, good plan instead of a bad one.
Sharon Seidman, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Good morning. I'm a faculty in Child and Adolescent Studies at Cal State Fullerton, where I've been for 26 years. I coordinate our early childhood concentration, and I also administer our ITEP pathways. And I was also a member of the CTC P3 Early Childhood Work Group. I do want to applaud this work for recognizing the extensive research showing that ECE provided by highly knowledgeable and skilled teachers supports optimal child development and life success. And I do think that current draft TPEs are a good start. However, bridging the culture of ECE and of elementary education requires integrating two totally different vocabularies for describing children and their environments. Detailed field review is essential to ensure that all the stakeholders understand and agree with the content, and only then can the needed improvements be made. California's community colleges and universities have been working together to support ECE professionals for many years at associates and bachelor's level. That needs to be considered and incorporated when defining educational pathways and defining program standards to accomplish these competencies for an effective P3 teacher. We can't do that until the TPEs are fully defined, and then we can work on the program standards. Thank you.
Carolyn Crolot, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Good morning, Carolyn Crolot, Director of Dual Language Learner Programs for Early Edge California. Early Edge would like to thank the Commission for providing opportunities for the field to give feedback on the P3 credential, and also for inviting Early Edge's Executive Director, Patricia Lozano, to the work group. And as the Commission develops the credential, we must ensure that the field's feedback is incorporated. including a focus on developmentally appropriate practice and play-based learning, as well as the needs of our multilingual learners. And in addition, given the bilingual teacher shortage and the importance of the first 5 years of life for brain and bilingual development, we encourage the Commission to include a bilingual authorization component to the credential. This will help build our bilingual teacher pipeline and provide opportunities for expanding bilingual programs beginning in preschool and TK. We look forward to the continued work with the Commission and the Department of Education to develop a PK3 credential and complementary pathways to support our LEAs as they work to staff TK classrooms and allow our existing ECE workforce to move into those classrooms as fully qualified teachers. Thank you.
Jessica Sacco, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Good morning, Commissioners. Jessica Sacco on behalf of Children Now. As the Commission's work on this credential progresses, I encourage the Commission to continue to engage with professionals currently educating our state's 3- and 4-year-old children. Lean on their expertise, help them navigate and understand this complex world of teacher preparation and credentialing, and continue to incorporate their input into this work. Given its role and experience with the Child Development Permit, I urge the Commission to lead conversations around the minimum qualifications for the second individual in the TK classroom, and how that position can become a part of the career ladder for a future PK-3 credential teacher. Keeping young children's educational development and emotional needs central to this work is critical to its success. Centering on equity, both in the education of young children and the preparation of their teachers, requires intentionality and inclusivity, and I urge the Commission to continue their focus on equity as this credential becomes a reality. Thank you.
Soon Young Jang, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hello, Commissioners. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Great, thank you. My name is Soon-Young Jang, Assistant Professor at Cal Poly Pomona. As many of us agree, there has been a long-standing disconnect between early child education and elementary education. We can see it from teacher qualifications, compensations, and pedagogical and assessment approaches, to name just a few. Establishing a PK3 credential in California is an exciting opportunity to bridge these two sectors, and it should take a careful and mindful approach to get it right from the beginning. If we get it wrong, this will do more harm than good to our youngest citizens. Bridging these two sectors should not come at the expense of one or the other. With the current proposal, multiple subject credential holders are centered, but without the necessary knowledge in early child research and theories, as well as experiences in early child pedagogies. How can we, for instance, assume that multiple subject credential holders already meet the PK3 specific subject matter requirement when it includes the preschool learning foundations and the TK3 student content standards that are not necessarily addressed by the multiple subject credential? The newly proposed PK3 credential must properly value the knowledge and experience gained through early child programs and incorporate these into credential requirements. Let's take time to get this right from the beginning. Thank you so much for your time to listen to us.
Jana Luft, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners. I'm Jana Luft from the Education Trust West, an organization working to close opportunity and achievement gaps for young children and youth of color and those experiencing poverty. And we appreciate the opportunity to comment about the proposed P3 ECE credential. We commend the ECE credentialing work group for providing recommendations that begin to take into account the needs of the current early learning workforce, and we support the additional options proposed by the work group related to credential requirements. Nevertheless, we are concerned that the current proposal will create significant barriers for current early educators who bring years of work experience with developmentally appropriate practices to become eligible to teach in TK classrooms. As Dr. Neville Morgan said, these early educators are more racially and linguistically representative of California's children, and we fear that they will be barred access to teaching positions because of the requirements currently being considered. Thank you so much.
Tony Ayala, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hello, my name is Tony Ayala. I'm a full-time faculty member of Child Development and Family Studies, as well as Vice President of Tri-C EC for Public Policy. While I strongly support the creation of a credential designed to meet the specific needs of young children and families, the current process has not been informed in depth by our diverse voice in our field. The field of early childhood education is long supported by California community colleges to facilitate the development of a workforce through coursework creation of teacher preparation programs, which include rich practicum experiences and robust lab exposures at our local campuses. None of that work is currently called out in agenda item 3H. This is a great misstep that must be addressed. I appreciate the presentations today calling attention to many of these concerns, but they were not originally addressed in the agenda item. An example of this can be seen in the difference between the handout, which was added to the agenda item this morning, which is not the same as the chart presented on page 22. I again call for this proposal to authentically include the voices of institutions of higher education who are already prepared to design a credential in early childhood education. Thank you.
Jan Fish, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Good day. I too want to ask you to thank you for your work, but please pause, review, reimagine, and restart the process of revising and developing the ECE Specialist PK3 credential for California that is truly ECE focused, as cited by Dr. Stipek this morning and many of the speakers. Peach has worked since 2011 to advocate for an ECE credential. And as many have said today, including Executive Director Sandy and also Sarah Neville Morgan, we need to get it right. So please uncouple the urgent need for additional teachers from the preparation of an ECE specific credential. Review, reimagine, and restart this process. Thank you very much.
Manuel Buenrostro, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hi, good morning again. This is Manuel Buenrostro with Californians Together, and we truly appreciate the progress that has been made towards implementation of this new credential. We hope that it will support stronger alignment between early childhood education and elementary education. Just given that 24% of students in grades kinder through third grade are English learners, that's 1 in 4 of our students in these grades. We want to ensure that this credential prepares and supports teachers to meet the needs of English learners, and we consider that a critical component of this credential. I want to echo the comments made by our colleagues at Early Edge with the need to make sure that there's options for this credential to offer a bilingual authorization option. We see this as an opportunity for candidates to also get their bilingual authorization. We would like to see more of a focus on that as this work moves forward. Thank you.
Beth Malloy, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Yes, hello. My name is Beth Malloy. I am president of Malloy Child and Family Policy Solutions. I hold a PhD in child development from Georgetown University, as well as a master's in public policy. I have extensive experience in early childhood policy and research and have spent much of my career deep in the literature of preschool evaluation. And I believe the research on preschool effectiveness unequivocally supports that preschool to third grade alignment is essential to closing opportunity and achievement gaps for our children because of the critical role that we know our educators play in achieving quality and aligned instruction. I am really excited personally to see the development of the P3 credential is underway. And I really recognize the urgency of the moment to ensure that children have access to quality educators as possible. I have heard many suggest we need to restart and reimagine this process. I believe CTC has the right process in place, and I trust that they will review the TPEs and especially the pathways to ensure that this credential does what it intends, which is creating a bridge for all of our educators to acquire the skills and knowledge they need to serve this specific age group of children well. And that CTC will also follow up with its intention to ensure that infants and toddler teachers also have the skills, knowledge, and abilities that they need in order to ensure that our youngest children are also served well and equitably. Thank you.
Donna Cecil, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
My name is Donna Cecil. I'm an adjunct community college instructor and the Vice President of Public Policy for Tri-C ECE. I am concerned that the data presented at Agenda Item 3H is not accurate. As an example, I would like to draw the Commissioner's attention to the results reported from the focus groups. As written, you may believe that the focus groups responded to the word cloud prompt with enthusiastic statements. This is not true. Most of the participants responded with negative statements such as horrified, nothing, and concerned. When asked why the results were not accurately reported, Dr. Jacobson responded that they were trying to put a positive spin on the results. This is not how you present data. If the authors feel the need to filter the focus group results inaccurately, what other parts of the agenda have been altered to fit a preordained view? Please be careful when reading the agenda item and understand that it may not accurately communicate results or feedback from the ECE field. Thank you.
Hopeton Hess, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hi, my name is Hopeton Hess from CSCCE. Our center submitted a full statement that can be found in the written public comments. We're concerned that this approach deepens racial inequities in the ECE workforce. Examining the proposed PK through 3 specialist credential alone ignores the fact that multiple subject holders are already authorized to teach TK. For multiple subject holders, this credential would simply be an option, not a requirement, whereas it stands to be the only option for ECE teachers unless they otherwise pursue an MSc. We're concerned that there is no pathways to the MSc or the proposed PK through 3 specialist credential that accepts the education and experience that early educators already possess, with such options exist for K-12 private school teachers and others with minimal experience like Peace Corps graduates. For example, private school teachers are able to bypass an MSc preparation program if they have 6 or more years of experience. Childcare centers and family childcare homes are not accepted as private school settings, closing this route for early educators. There is nothing in the proposal that provides equivalent opportunities to earn a credential for early educators. If the state is interested in promoting equitable policies, it's critical that the state examine its assumptions and biases about what it means to be a qualified teacher, and whose education experience and perspective is valued must be examined as a part of these processes. Thank you.
Eden Haywood Bird, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hello, my name is Eden Haywood Bird. I am currently the department chair at Cal Poly Pomona in the Early Childhood Studies department. I share the same feelings a lot of people have shared so far. I support a early childhood credential, but wish it was birth through age 3. But I only support a credential if it has a robust foundation of early childhood as its contents. I have heard a lot about re-envisioning and rethinking the system to make it accessible for more people. But let me just encourage the commission, be brave, be bold, send a message that early childhood is something that you support on its own, not just in its next to multiple subject. Please consider privileging the young children that are in our state as opposed to privileging the multiple subject teachers whose principals want the flexibility to move them around the building. Young children are to be valued and have inherent rights. So please consider any early childhood credential to privilege those teachers who already hold expertise, as well as the teachers who have spent their lives teaching young children. Thank you.
Nancy Hurlbut, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hi, my name is Nancy. Can you hear me? Yeah. My name is Nancy Hurlbut, and I am a emeritus professor from Cal Poly Pomona. I've been a dean of education at 2 CSUs, and I created the first and only NAEYC nationally accredited baccalaureate early childhood program. I get that we have an urgent need for TK teachers, and I support Mary's and Sarah's view of the importance of quality early childhood education. However, we must separate actions for the urgent need from the appropriate requirements for a high quality early childhood credential. And as Donna Cecil pointed out, the focus groups were not authentic and did not give an opportunity for authentic input. So what I would propose is that we have a short-term way to meet the TK teachers. Don't put 3H in regulation. It's not appropriate. And then have a mid and long-term approach to getting a quality early childhood proposal. Thank you.
Tara Ryan, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hello, my name is Tara Ryan. I'm the Deputy Director for the Center for District Innovation and Leadership in Early Education, known as DIAL-E. I'm also the Senior Director for the I3 Institute. I just want to express appreciation for all the consideration and work that has gone into the current draft plans and documents presented today. In general, I express my support for ongoing development of the ECE Specialist Credential, especially to meet the specific needs for educating our youngest learners and partnering with their families in alignment within the P12 context and to support developmentally appropriate implementation of U2K. I just want to bring up a couple of points. I hope that there's a consideration to really ensure that multiple pathways laid out truly are accessible for the existing workforce, and also to include consideration for including infant toddler teachers in this credential as it expands. Thank you.
Sarah Burnett, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
I am a full-time professor at early childhood at Norco College, Community College, and I wanted to share today my concern on page 18, the chart that's been disseminated and has been changed multiple times. Every time we look at it as a community college professor, we get a gut check, because there's an automatic assumption that our students who are holding a bachelor's degree may or may not have met some of the subject matter expertise, but some is not mentioned here really. Whereas a multi-subject credential holder is automatically assumed to have met all of the subject matter expertise, having potentially had no classes in early childhood as a part of a liberal studies track. Teacher preparation for this age group must include early childhood. And if we're going to support the CAP alignment project, it should incorporate the 8 required courses. Thank you.
There are no additional requests for public comment.
Thank you, Recording Secretary. I'll just give it a moment in case anybody's struggling with the Zoom or audio. Okay, go ahead. Recording Secretary.
Harry Rothstein-Fish, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hi, this is Carrie Rothstein-Fish, Professor, Early Childhood Education, Master's Program, Cal State Northridge. I'm going to make this really short. First, I'm going to urge the Commission to separate the emergency part of this for a teacher shortage for a long-term, more deeply considered credential in early childhood. And secondly, I'd like to bring up a point that was mentioned earlier about having a shared vocabulary. I think we need to share the culture of children, and that means an emphasis on development and families versus just thinking about academic preparation. In fact, one of our graduate students did a study on what is school readiness, and she asked parents and preschool teachers and first 5 commissioners and kindergarten teachers what they thought was school readiness. And they all agreed that it was about being well nourished and well rested. But after that, the preschool teachers and the parents and the commissioners all thought that children should know their letters and numbers and colors, whereas the kindergarten teachers said, no, we can teach them that. We need children that are self-regulated. We need children that have executive function skills and know how to get along with friends and how to play well. So I just would urge the commission to please consider separating the emergency part of this and defer the long-term credential for the early childhood specialist. Thank you.
Okay, any other public comments?
No additional public comments.
All right, we'll give it that nanosecond just in case there's that raised icon hand. Okay, the public comment period for this item is now closed. And before we move to the commissioners, a reminder, this is an information item. Our actions to provide staff to provide feedback to the staff. And then I also just wanted to see if the staff wanted to say anything before the commissioners began. Okay. All right. So commissioners, what questions or comments do you have on this item? Commissioner Simmons.
First of all, I want to really thank you for all of this work. When we started talking about this 7 years ago, I was, and Kate can say, I was steadfastly against this option because it seemed as a HR person to be an unfunded mandate. And now that the governor has funded it, I can wholeheartedly support it and say how wonderful that we think this is. And also, I want to say, providing on the special ed side, the governor also has provided support for us to provide students with special needs funding for the 3 and 4 year olds who we have always had to support and always been privileged to support, but not funded to do so. And that is also a wonderful thing. But there was a lot of talk about barriers. And I thought it would be helpful if, as an HR person, I explain what is going to happen in August when I hire teachers to go into TK. And let's say that I have a child development permit holder who has a bachelor's degree in early childhood. And I'm hoping that Erin will be able to help me as I go through the process. Okay, so the first thing I have to do is find out that they have a bachelor's degree. Also, when I look at their bachelor's degree, I have to go through their transcripts and find out, do they have subject matter? Now, right now, the only subject matter that they have is for multiple subjects. That means when I go through their transcripts, I have to find 10 units, well, 40 units, 10 units in each of several sections of content that is all of the multiple subjects. After AB 130, where that we have the subject matter option to go to instead of the CSET for multiple subjects, I have gone through a huge number of transcripts, but not nearly as many as Erin. And I would say it is rare to be able to find child development. Well, actually, child development, I probably can find the 40 units.
You could be creative, but sometimes it can be challenging.
Okay. So I can find the 40 units. That will enable me to hire them on either a STIP or a PIP. That's a short-term staff permit or a provisional internship permit. And that's assuming they have U.S. Constitution and some other stuff, correct? Or is that, yeah?
No, US, no, that's not needed.
Okay,
not for the PIP or the
so
STIP.
all I basically have to do is find the 40 units. Now, let's talk about the consequences of me hiring them as either a STIP or a PIP. That means that from the department's perspective, they're underprepared, correct? So that means that I am dinged as an employer, as a school district, because in all my reporting, I have put an underprepared teacher in that classroom. The other thing is the Ed Code prohibits years on a provisional credential from counting towards tenure. So that teacher that year, even though they're getting the higher pay, will not be counted towards permanency. And that document will only last 1 year, because STIPs and PIPs, as we learned in the teacher's supply report this morning, you don't have an option beyond 1 year. So it's pretty urgent that we move forward with this. Now let's talk about if I was going to hire them at a higher level than a STIP or a PIP. Let's say I was going to find an internship. To do an internship, I have to demonstrate that they have multiple subject matter. And to do that, I have to find at least one class with a B or better, B minus or better, in each of the domain levels of the CSET. When I have gone through this, I have not found a single one that had earth science. So you have to have every one of those domain levels. And that's just the one I've never found anybody that had. But there are, there's all of them from everything from PE to reading, literature, all of that stuff. You have to find every piece of that. So the option of them to be hired as an internship where that they would get credit towards permanency is really not realistic. So unless we move forward with having a subject matter requirement that's based upon early childhood, basically our current workforce is out of luck. So I think we have to move forward with this, and slowing it down is only going to hurt the candidates that we are really trying to help. Now, I did have, and let me throw something else in there. Susan earlier was talking about declining enrollment. And one of the ways that we're going to be filling these TK classrooms is by putting multiple subject teachers. When we don't have enough fourth graders, they're going to end up in those TK classes because we don't, we're not going to lay off, and they are authorized to do it. So if we don't move on this and provide options for our child development permit holders, those positions are going to be filled by other people. So I think there's really no benefit to us slowing down, and a whole lot of benefit for us to move forward. So, and I want to say one other thing. Going to 8 years old as an upper limit for a credential is a huge mistake. I can't say to a third grader, because your birthday is in October, I have to move you to another class in November. It really needs to be grade-based, not birthday-based. And otherwise, it will cause huge issues for kids when they are removed from one class and put into another. So that's why it's important that once you get into K-12, that it's grade-based rather than birthday-based. And I really think that we need to get this in place for the 22-20, not the 22-23, the 23-24 hiring season, because otherwise the same barriers that Aaron and I just described for this August are going to be the same next August.
Thank you, Commissioner Simmons, for just really kind of putting it in that practicality about what your day-to-day looks like for hiring in the workforce. Thank you. It's really, I'm sure it's helpful for us commissioners, but I'm sure it's helpful for others to just really have it played out that way. So thank you very much. Did you want to add anything? Okay. All right. Commissioners, other comments or questions that you have? Yes, Chair Sloan.
I have a couple of comments based on some of the things that people had mentioned in their comments and other comments that I have. One of the things that we were hearing, or one of the ways this new credential ensures knowledge, skills, and abilities in early childhood. And I'm table 1, if we could just look at that for a minute. And this is where I know some of my colleagues in who have specializations in early childhood can weigh in. The requirements for this credential under subject matter, we have here demonstrated knowledge of state adopted content standards for students in the in the preschool learning foundations and the TK3 content standards adopted by the state board. Seems to me that would indicate. Next column, teacher preparation. They have to complete coursework and clinical preparation in a variety of settings. There's still a question as to which those settings would be, but the recommendations are that they will be in at least 2 different grade bands. And I think considering or requiring that one of those grade bands be in the preschool area would be reasonable. Next column, teacher performance assessments. These are going to be based on early childhood learning or P through 3 learning. Next row, reading instruction and competence. We are developing the new reading literacy assessment, and we will need to be considering the early childhood space around this. Finally, the 24 units are clearly based in early childhood. The second thing that I am hearing is the need for input and partnerships with our community college faculty and the ability to utilize the expertise, the tremendous expertise that we already have in that space. And Renee Marshall gave us some examples, some of our colleagues who on the phone gave us examples as well. And I think we have tremendous opportunities to develop really strong 2+2 programs in this space because of what's already established here, and things that are written in some of these tables asking, should we consider early field experience in the community college space? Yes, I think we should, just like we do in integrated undergraduate programs. There's early, even if it takes place in one 4-year institution, there are clinical practice requirements in earlier in a candidate's career than they would have in their post-baccalaureate career. That said, though, we want these 2+2 programs to be well aligned so that they're cohesive across the spectrum, just like we want our P3 experience for students to be cohesive. So we have some work there, and it's important to continue that work. The third thing I want to speak to is something that Danette Brown mentioned, ensuring that our TPAs, our reading competence, have time to be developed for this space. And that in addition to that, once our TPA is developed, our programs will need time to implement and work with them, just like we saw with our recent APA requirements. The fourth thing is, and some people brought this up in some of the tables, some of the things that could be options for adoption involves experience in teaching in the early childhood space. And that's been offered as an option to suffice for the 24 units, for subject matter, for a variety of things. It says in table 3, it's around subject matter, and table 4, it's for the 24 units. This one I wonder about a little bit, and I would like more information around that. And I think that's an important one to explore, but I want to just learn more about in future. Finally, the timeline. Staff updated timeline for us in this yellow table. I want to note the importance of ensuring that by January 2023, we do have regulations in place so that we can start approving programs. And I would also like to note that the importance, the informational webinars with the field, the staff are proposing that we start those webinars in August 2022, which means we have work to do between now and August 2022. And it's really important work because by August 2022, we want programs to start developing their work and thinking about their work so that by the time we've got this established and ready to go, many of them can hit the ground running. So that we can be ready to credential teachers for, David, what did you say? We want them in the 23-24 year.
Well, we want them for the 22-23 year.
I know.
But that ship has kind of sailed. So it is, and the hiring will probably be in May of 23.
That's right.
Is really when it needs to happen.
All right. And the final thing I'll say, as I said earlier under our teacher supply report, we know we are finding out what happens when we put underprepared teachers in the classroom. We can't afford to lose our early childhood teachers. We need them prepared. So I'm very glad staff and all of the people who have worked on this, nearly 1,000 people responded to our survey that we put out there to give us feedback on our TPEs, work that we began in 2015 with 15 agenda items. Thank you, Danette. And I don't think we've had a response rate like 974 people ever. It's a rarity. So that's just to say thank you for everyone in this room and out there who's doing this hard work, and we're going to keep doing this hard work. Thank you.
Thank you. Other commissioners? Yes, Commissioner Davis.
Good afternoon. I thought that some of the comments that were made were like very apropos, and as I listened to the discussion, the first thing that piqued my interest was around the shared vocabulary part. I know as someone who I remember my days at LA State, the Credential program, and how and how daunting that was, just surrounding the acronyms, the vocabulary, and the common language that just didn't exist across UC, Cal State, private, public. Because every time I was, interacting with other Credential students, they had different requirements, it seemed, or maybe they were the same requirements, but they just had different names. And then I come to learn later they were pathways, and I didn't know what pathways were. So, when we turn this around to the community, and because we are basically setting the policy, I guess, or helping to set that policy, and this is the face of the community, basically, where people are going to see what this is from us. That common language is a huge factor. I think, also, and not that your committee, and thank you very much for your hard work, by the way. Not that your committee has anything to do with this, but the funding sources to keep these folks in the profession needs to be advertised as well. The last thing I want to say is, and again, not something that is in the purview of the committee, but in keeping on with encouraging the diversity that we've learned today, that this group of teachers are. That, and we know from the past also, and I'm sorry to ramble a little bit, that higher education, often people of color get lost, often with new mandates and new certifications and new processes and programs. People of color often get lost, and so knowing that, I'm hoping that common languages is a factor. Again, funding is a factor. Where these programs will be for preparation, teacher preparation will be available are factors. That all of this is advertised fully transparently, that we are able to get that information out, not only to our LEAs, but also to our colleges, also to the candidates in the classrooms, and also the teachers that are currently in practice. I think that's the most important thing that you can do. Otherwise, as David said, we're going to have a pretty big gap in our workforce all of a sudden because people aren't meeting the qualifications. Thank you.
Appreciate your comments. Other commissioners? Yeah, student liaison. Baez.
Hello, thank you. Okay, I have a couple things that I have been marinating on. And one of the first ones that I just want to say is thank you to the staff for this. And also thank you to the public. I think that I know I appreciate all the public comments, and I just appreciate their thoroughness and the way that they care, because I think it would raise a red flag or two if we had no comments on this type of thing. And so I think it's really great, and I appreciate just the thoroughness that that everybody is considering. So thank you for that. Something else that I would like to say, it's on page 6 of the document. And something that I find extremely important in this is the paragraph begins with the work group felt that since, and then so on and so forth. But something that I really looked at about this ECE credential is it says the age ranges of California's youngest learners. And I think that's something to keep at the forefront of our mind, that yes, they are, the age group is young, but they are learners nonetheless. And I think that's important to keep in the forefront of our minds when we are going through this process, is that they are learners. And I've seen TK classrooms, and I've seen the energy in there from the teacher and the students. And I think it is so vital to keep that in the forefront of our minds going forward, is that they are learners and they are our youngest learners. And that is something very important and vital in this process. Secondly, or thirdly, I guess I should say, is something that as a current teacher candidate is the TPEs. And the TPEs are important, or something that I have been really looking at through this document, because as a teacher candidate in a current program, all we do is talk about TPEs, and it's important. So those are something that I definitely looked at. And one TPE that I thought might call for some revision, or just maybe a second look in regards to vocabulary that we've been talking about, is TPE 1.7, where it says promote children's thinking. And something to me that we've actually discussed as a commission before in earlier meetings is the power of the word developmentally, or to develop. And we've talked about that compared to the word formative. And I think something there where it says promote children's thinking, and it gives examples. Promote children's thinking through developmentally appropriate activities that provide opportunities for children to engage in effective expression, inquiry, problem solving, and reflection of their learning. I like it. The only thing that I think calls for maybe a revision, and maybe others find it too, is where it says through the development of appropriate activities. Maybe there could be something there in regards to inclusive activities, or I don't know, just the word developmentally seems, I don't know, maybe formative inclusive activities. I just think there needs to be something there in regards to the equity, inclusion, and diversity conversation, because yes, we are promoting the children's thinking of our youngest learners in California, but these young learners are sometimes amongst the most diverse learners as they are still figuring things out. So we are there to help guide them, which is, I think this credential is great, but I do think that TP 1.7, maybe the wording there could be changed or revised for a second look. I also just wanted to point out that I really love TPE 2.5 and 4.8. I think, like I said, as somebody who is very recently looking at TPEs and being told, look at this TPE and make sure, you're doing this, that, and the other thing, I think TPE 2.5, to nurture children's positive social behavior, self-regulation, social emotional development, including emotional literacy, using respectful language, all that I think is really great, especially the part where it says student to student and student to teacher interactions, because the student to student, and I like that comes first, because I think that is important. The placement of that vocabulary is important, but also student to teacher interactions, especially with this early childhood education, is also very important. Also, TP 4.8, I really liked as well. I thought it was important to point out the ones that I think are good, as well as one that I thought needed revision. And TP 4.8 is to apply information about children's current levels of development and things like that. I think as a professional educator, it is important to be able to know how to apply that information regarding where your students are at developmentally, because especially in an early childhood classroom, you're going to have different levels of development depending on socioeconomic background and all different types of, there's COVID now, there's been, things like that. So I think it's important to be able to apply that information. And let me just make sure if anything comes up, I will. Oh, that was something I did want to talk about. Was one public comment was about English learners in regards to this credential, which I think is something important to also be thinking about as we move forward. And we've talked a lot about in yesterday's meeting and also this morning about community. And I think that is also something to consider, how each part of the child's community and the teacher's community come into play when moving forward with this credential. So yes, I think that is all I had to say. If anything else, I am here. So thank you very much for the time, and thank you for this. It's truly inspirational to be a part of this. So thank you.
Thank you, Student Liaison Baez. That was really helpful, and thank you for your attention to detail around this. Director Secretary.
You've gotten me excited, Ms. Baez. And you mentioned yesterday, and congratulations again, that you passed the Ed TPA. Well done, well done. And I find it very interesting and remarkable that that the TPEs that you've pointed out here as particularly resonating with you, I'm guessing, have been a significant part of your own preparation, and your TPA gave you the opportunity to think about how you are nurturing and learning from and drawing in the assets that your students bring, and how you are applying information about where they're at to what you're going to do as their teacher. Isn't that interesting how these TPEs resonate across what all teachers need to do? And I appreciate you taking us into the TPEs here, because it's so easy to treat them like an abstract thing with a title, but this is really the warp and woof of what we need for you to know and be able to do as an educator before we license you. And these materials were drawn from the TPEs that you needed to meet to get to pass your TPA and get your credential, but they were adapted by our work group to really focus on the population of students we want to hone in on here. So that I thank you for giving. You didn't mean to tee me up on this, but I appreciate you doing it, because that is such a key part of this alignment that we're looking for, that all teachers are prepared to understand and nurture their children in these ways, the children they're responsible for teaching, and understand what's happening with them so that you can appropriately teach them and not do them harm. So thank you. Thank you for that moment.
Of course, and if I could just say thank you very much for that. And I think the TPEs of any credential are kind of, they're the seedling, right? And then, you nurture that and you work on them, and no matter what point of teaching you're in, I think, I've always, told myself I'll keep these TPs, in my desk drawer or something as a teacher, so I can, refer back to them, because I think you have to nurture it to be able to grow. And, we're growing alongside our students. So I think, these are kind of the legs of Credential, and I'm so happy to see that most of these were aligned with things that I think will help future teacher candidates in this position. So thank you.
Thank you for kind of bringing that full circle, Executive Director Sandy. That was really nice, and again, appreciate your level to detail. Commissioner Hartwick.
Thank you very much. First, I just want to say thank you to the people who have been, the agencies, the organizations that have been working on this, not just for the last, amount of time we've been doing it during a fire drill, but for years and decades to get to this point. As a member of the public and representing the public here, I am deeply grateful for that. And I'm deeply grateful for our ability to get moving on this as we need to. Looking forward to our timeframes of what is going to have to happen in order for this to be successful long-term. As of course has been mentioned, we actually are going to need to have preparation programs that can effectively prepare, which is going to be a huge shift and expansion for our institutions of higher education. And I know that we're very much hoping that preparation programs will start applying for this in less than a year, February 2023. Now, forgive me if this is already addressed in the item, but I was hoping that Ms. Neville Morgan could speak a little bit more to the plans of the CDE and the governor to provide funding to assist institutions as they develop these programs. And I don't know where the planning is and if this is information I can access elsewhere, but it's going to be key, I would think, for a number of reasons: feasibility, but also to entice institutions to want to develop a brand new program is a very heavy lift, and obviously not one that we have funding to help with. So I'm looking to you. Thank you.
So thank you for that question. I wish I had the magic wand for that. I cannot represent the administration. So in partnership with Mary and CTC, we do have a UPK state leadership team. So we bring these issues up. There is a sort of a mass of various funding that's going out to LEAs to be able to access, some that goes out to the Student Aid Commission and some other places. But what we haven't seen yet is the money directly for institutions to actually change, transform, and really prepare for this need. So we've elevated it. It's been part of conversations. Right now, it's sort of through partnerships with LEAs that you would be able to get some money. We do have the 100 million out right now, and is Alana still there? No, Alana probably had to go to our Preschool Learning Foundation's meeting that we're doing next door. She's been our lead in partnership with CTC on getting that out, but it's only 100 million and it goes directly to LEAs because it's Prop 98 funds. They can then enter into partnerships with institutes of higher ed that will work with them on it. Mary, anything to add?
Yes, absolutely. And I really appreciate that question because we do have that 100 million out right now or through CDE's efforts. We also have residency funding that's out to build residency pathways, but they can't build a residency pathway to an early childhood specialist credential because it doesn't exist. But we hope that it does soon and that we can in the coming years build those. But a very exciting opportunity is presented in the governor's budget and in a bill sponsored or authored by Assemblymember McCarty. I think it's AB 2401. So yes, that's correct. Thank you. The proposal in the governor's budget is for a $10 million grant that can go directly to institutions of higher education to build their undergraduate integrated pathways. And that will enable this community, the community colleges and the four-year institutions to build their 2+2 or the four-year institutions to build their four-year programs leading to a degree and a credential. Again, as soon as we have an early childhood credential, they can secure funds under that type of grant to buy out planning time for faculty to build those programs next year. The McCarty bill goes even further and provides I think is seeking a broader, bigger, that's a $10 million proposal in the proposed budget right now. I think the McCarty bill is a $100 million proposal. I don't know whether that's yes. Okay, I'm the expert. The genius bars over there. They're giving me my signals on these things. And that 100 million is also calls out. Let's build early childhood pathways. Let's expand existing integrated undergraduate programs to maybe expand into where institutions. We have 41 institutions that we've already granted in the last 6 years to build these kinds of programs, but expanding into the early childhood space. Providing funds in addition for faculty planning time to design programs, also proposing to provide funding to support candidates completing these programs. So this is in discussion in the legislature right now for July 1. If this is all in the budget, these funds are available July 1. So why are we rushing to get a credential instantiated so that we can support the higher education communities to begin to build these pathways? And the regulations that actually say what your basic skills and subject matter and all the details, the nuts and bolts in component 3 that Cassandra Henderson pointed out for us, those will be taken up in regulations. When we get that together, we will present you with draft regulations, and then you will initiate the public hearing process, and hopefully we have that credential in place for issuance and building toward by January. But these funds could be made available much earlier than that. After they're available in the budget, then we have to do our part to create the RFAs and get these funds out. But that will pay for higher education to have the time to build the partnerships. And this is going to require a close collaboration between the community colleges, where all of the preparation of this workforce currently exists, with our four-year institutions, where all the baccalaureate work in child development and early childhood studies exists, and potentially with teacher education, because there's a clinical piece that has to be part of this. But it's hard to build several big systems simultaneously. Much easier to do it sequentially, but we can't wait 5 years. We have to do the complex work, in my view, to attempt to make these things available timely so we can draw these resources to build these pathways to a credential and maybe have intern programs ready to enroll people by a year from now and some change. Maybe these are the early adopters. Maybe these are the institutions that are so ready they can take one more step and offer an intern pathway to this new credential, and you can hire them, David. And if I know you, you'll be the first guy out there getting them.
If they're an intern that year, they'll get the salary that the multiple subjects
That's
get.
right.
They'll be considered highly qualified as, or whatever we call it now, with regard to the Department of Ed, and it will count towards tenure.
It's a trifecta.
Commissioner Grenishire?
Things. Thank you. I want, first of all, thank the staff and the work group for this tremendous work. I want to thank the commission for our persistence in continuing to talk about and work towards the development of a highly qualified early childhood workforce. I had some questions regarding the public comments that I want to come back to, but I want to just, I think our challenge is to balance the urgency that David described so well. I love listening to you as an HR director. I learned so much this morning. So we have that urgency to staff up our classrooms like now with the quality that all of the speakers talked about. And so I want to make sure that we hold both of those in our hearts and mind as we move forward with this work. Mary, you stole my playbook. I was like, there is funding out there. We have funding. We developed the integrated teacher education program. We have experience doing that. I can't speak for my private counterparts, but in the CSU, we have strong partnerships with our community college colleagues. So we are primed and ready to move. And while some might describe this as a huge shift, I don't think it's that huge of a shift. We have capacity. There's clearly a need. We have these relationships that are already in existence to move forward. I saw Renee this morning, and we worked so closely together over the last couple of years. So I'm actually really excited about this. So I want to hold both of those things. Two questions that came up during the public comments. I think I know the answers to, but I think it would be important for the public to hear that, and perhaps for the other commissioners. Why are we not doing 03? I think I know why. And then what about the bilingual language authorization? I think the commission would benefit from our experts just reminding us of that.
Yeah, I can say a little bit more. I said a little bit when I started mine, in that there's such an importance to get all of those TPEs. And I think if you were to expand and include the infant toddler as well, you're going to create a really large amount of TPEs. And it's hard to go in depth when you go that wide. And we really need, especially like listening to you, Commissioner Simmons, was really powerful. And there are so many like you right now struggling. We really need to be able to staff this up. This is part of public education, right? So this truly is a preschool age child through a third grader that we're talking about as we look at the credential, a teaching credential in that space and what needs to be there. So even though in my former life I was an infant toddler specialist, did a lot of early family mental health, this is focused on that age group. And there's a lot that happens across those developmental domains, but really wanting to get right the pre-K to third grade component of education. The multilingualism, I think Mary's gonna have to speak to. I will only say how critical it is when we look at California's kids to make sure it's actually embedded throughout everything that we do, because so many of our children are multilingual learners. And the superintendent, we have our Global 2030. Our goal is to have more and more dual language immersion programs as we expand across California. And my other plug that we always talk about is the inclusion that I heard several of you mention. And I know that Mary, with all of you, has been working to embed that more so that we move away from self-contained classrooms, except where that is really truly best for that student, and become more and more inclusive in how children are incorporated into classrooms and teaching practices. So that's more the higher level, but I think Mary can probably talk to the specifics about that credential.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of the dual language, there is built into the TPE's attention to multilingual students, and having a general educator's capacity for working in a multilingual environment is intended to be built in there. But it would be my guess and expectation that the bilingual added authorization would be available for this credential, with nods from the Genius Bar over there. I think that's absolutely it has to be part of how we're rolling all of this forward for every reason that's been articulated. With respect to the other part of that question was about 0 to 3. Thank you. Too many channels open. With respect to 0 to 3, this particular proposal and concept for an early childhood specialist credential focuses in, for every reason that's been articulated, on preschool through 3rd grade, not 3, excuse me, preschool through grade 3. That doesn't mean that in the future an infant toddler specialist couldn't be added, or emphasis or added couldn't be added to that. We have not gotten to that yet. There's been a great deal of movement in the early childhood space. What's funded, who is teaching whom, where, the whole general child care portion of our state funded early childhood education moved from the Department of Education to the Department of Social Services. Correct? I got that right? Yes. So there's been movement, and there have been changes. As we talk about moving TK into the K-12 space, we're also talking in the budget about moving 2-year-olds into the state preschool space. There's so much change occurring in the 0 to 5 or 0 to 3rd grade space that we're taking this part first. But coming up on the heels of this will be our going right back to, what do we need to do with the child development permit? Who needs to hold it? What does its scope need to be? How does it align with this whole career ladder? And not just career ladder, but the developmental stages of birth through through 3rd grade. So we need to get to that. And I would say, commissioners, I wouldn't recommend that you say infant toddler will never be part of this credential. I would say, let's put a pin in that and take a look at where we need to do, what we need to do, and where we might need to put that as we get to the next parts of this work.
Can I add briefly, just because I know that will create across all of our areas, we are not expecting a California State preschool teacher to get a teaching credential. The teaching credential truly is very specific to our TK to 12, where they draw down average daily attendance and are part of our LCFF. So those pieces are really specific in their requirements. Nor would we say that to do an infant toddler program or classroom, you then need a teaching credential. Right now, the child development permit requires 12 units of ECE. That's all. That would be a very big jump to go from 12 units of ECE all the way up to actually having a teaching credential. So that's, I think, one of the other things is we look at the need for teachers across the whole space, not wanting to put that requirement on a field that still needs much higher rates and wages to address that. And continuing, as Mary just laid out, the need to focus on the child development permit and actually over some years with support, get people up beyond 12 units. We do have teachers right now that obviously have much higher than that, but that is the requirement and the standard, sort of the floor where we do have teachers come in. So my worry also is messaging, are people taking away from this? Oh no, now to be an infant toddler head teacher, I'm gonna have to get a teaching credential. And that definitely, the teaching credentials in California are very specific to our public education system.
I want to thank both Sarah and Mary for that clarification. I think, again, it was important for you to clarify it in that level of detail for the commissioners and the public. And so I hope that we don't, what is that saying? Don't let perfection be the enemy of the good. There is such urgency to move this work forward, and I hope that we will do that. And again, thank you so much for this, to the staff and the work group, for this incredible work.
And thank you for that question. I think that was very enlightening for commissioners as well as the public since that kept coming up. So thank you, Commissioner Gunner-Shire. I think I'm going to move to go. Okay. Commissioner Gross?
I have one more thought about the concern about communication with actual practitioners. And perhaps this has already been done, but just my wondering is there a way to partner with social services in terms of they license all of these preschool programs? You know, like, is there a way to kind of directly mail each of these preschools a flyer or something as a way to actually get information into the hands of the actual teachers rather than kind of a trickle down hope, which we know in a time of education when everybody is kind of covering for people and working extra shifts in different areas, those messages don't always get forwarded. So I'm just wondering how we might more directly communicate with actual teachers in the.
So I'm happy to start, and then anyone else from the team can jump in. It depends on which audience, and I think we probably need to touch on a variety of audiences because there are the current teachers in the K-12 system who need the 24 units to be able to do EC, and this can build off their multiple subjects and create a strong pathway. I want to make sure we're also clear that this is not taking away from the multiple subjects credential, that is still a very viable pathway. And then for like our California State preschool program teachers, we would definitely be doing outreach, and CDE has the contacts for that. Although you're correct, everything we have as a contact is at the program level, not necessarily at the staff educator level. We would run into the same issue at DSS. The license is held by a program, except for family childcare. We're the family childcare home owner operator. So I think there would need to be broad messaging and campaign. We are actually right now, as we look at rolling out UPK across California, part of a UPK P3 kitchen cabinet, and they're addressing that issue right now. Like, what's the communication strategy so families even know that TK is expanding and they have that as a choice and option? How would the workforce know what the options are? So I think that's a really good thing to plug into that. And obviously, I think we would all ask for all of you to help with the messaging around building that workforce. I think too, and maybe Erin or one of you knows, there was maybe money in the budget for CTC to start doing some communication around workforce. No, maybe I hoped, dreamed that, and I will not. I'll like wave my magic wand that I don't have.
Yeah, there is a proposal in the budget for the commission to receive 8 career counselor positions and some funding for outreach and support for recruitment. So I think that would definitely be an avenue that we could use to pursue some of this communication. And as soon as we have a really clear understanding of what this credential will require, then we can start letting folks know what those requirements are.
And I guess my magic wand is partially the state superintendent of public instruction and the voice that he has. So his ability to carry this out and message it. And he is always focused on increasing our teacher pipeline, and our teachers of color pipeline is a big part of this. And this truly is an opportunity to grow our educators in that much needed critical space.
CTC staff, did you guys want to address any of that as well, or we're good? Okay, all right. Other questions or comments? Yeah, Commissioner Brown.
I just wanted to wait until all the rest of the commissioners were invested in this process, because you're right, it's been a long time, and together is the way to be better. And any of my ECE people who are listening know that I'm channeling Bev Boss. Yes, I am. We need to create a community. So Christopher, thank you for saying that. And I think that the community that we help support here at the commission includes the LEAs, includes the IHEs, and needs to include the practitioners as well. At the same time, just saying that, the group gets bigger, doesn't it? It's like, whoa, the group gets bigger. And we want to have voices in. I think we need deeper engagement with the our educational partners, so we can bring the expertise into the field to refine this rather than stop it, to revise it rather than quit it. And I think we can do that. I think just like children start from a community of their families, and they have their own individual path of development. We need to be able to do that with a transformative and really innovative credential. And so I say that from the Bay Area, who loves to do innovation. Let's get going. Yeah, let's get going. And I would like everything to work yesterday, but I recognize that the persistence that children need to learn to persist in task, we adults need to learn to persist as well. And that what we do here to create a pre to 3 credential can be built on to include all of the ECE community. And maybe we can't do it today, but we're going to have to do it tomorrow as we continue to look at this ECE specialist credential. So yeah, let's go.
All right. Well, I had wondered why Commissioner Brown had been so quiet. And I think
I was bringing the community
that's right,
in,
exactly. And I
come on,
hope
there's
to give her the
nothing
honor
to
of
do.
making her the last commissioner that speaks, and to just check in with CTC. Do you feel like you have the feedback that you need and direction from the commission to proceed with the next steps?
Thank you. I think we have sufficient information from the commission, and we thank you very much for all of the input that we've heard today.
Yeah. Well, thank all of you and commissioners, and to the public, remember, this isn't an action item. This was just an opportunity to provide the feedback and to receive the depth of information that we received, and appreciate everyone for doing that. So thank you. And yes, please.
I just want to say one thing one more time. I mean, we've talked about all the different things we're doing simultaneously, and it's there's a lot. And this team, I want to just say publicly how grateful I am to the team of staff we have here at the Commission on Teacher Credentialing: Phyllis Jacobson, Cassandra Henderson, Debbie Keeler, who isn't at the table, Amy Risen, David DeGear. This team, Zoltan Sarda from our early childhood, or our performance assessment group. This team of people is meeting almost daily.
Wow.
On some aspect of this early childhood piece of work. David and I serve on the state leadership team and the kitchen cabinet with Sarah to put this work in the context of the whole constellation. This is a very high priority for the team of people that's here, and even with that kind of high octane, staff, I'm so grateful to work with the people we work with. It's a lot to move down the field, and to have the ability to have this kind of conversation with you about an emerging system for licensing in the early childhood space is tremendously exciting, and it would not happen without all of the people I've just named. So I just want to say that. And I want to say also, it wouldn't happen if we did not have the level of interest and engagement from the field that we have. The people who served on our child development or our early childhood work group, we did give them quite a challenge. In 5 meetings, give us your best thinking, and boy, did they. They gave us some incredible insight about how to begin this and begin to shape this work. There's a lot more to come. But this team is going to take a little break, maybe for the weekend. No calls on the weekend, but back at it. Maybe some of us are going to Paris, but not me. But some have really earned that trip.
Yeah.
And but this is a really important priority, and I'm so grateful to the team that's brought this about. That's great.
It's a true collaboration here. I mean, I think about this. I think about shared vocabulary. I think about common understanding, which we need to get to, and then co-creation. And excuse me, but that is so early childhood. The child, the family, the community. Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah.
I just wanted to add, the kids are coming, because I work in a building where they come and register every day, and parents are coming in, and the little ones are excited. And there's this real excitement about having our kids coming onto our campuses. And I get to experience that every day I go to work. So I know there's this hesitation, but our kids are willing and they're here. So I just love the conversation that we're having. I love that we're so energetic about it, but know that the longer we wait, our little ones will get older and older. So we have to do something. So I just want to thank everybody for their work. Really appreciate it. And thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for that reminder. And Mary Sandy, thank you for your leadership. This is a big moment. So thank you all of CTC and Mary as the leader of CTC. So this was a substantive morning. I'm sure you all are ready for a break and to maybe move on. So thank everyone. My last item is very unofficial, and that is to wish a happy birthday to Commissioner Michael De La Torre. It's his first in-person meeting and on his birthday. So thank you for spending your birthday with us. And having no additional items, I adjourn the Educator Preparation Committee.
Thank you, Commissioner Martinez and Commissioner De La Torre. Couldn't ask for much more on your birthday, could you? No?
Well, for my birthday gift, I would like this to be approved and passed. Very strong EC.
All right, we'll remember that. All right, commissioners, next up is the Legislative Committee. I'm going to turn it over to Executive Director Sandy for a moment here.
Yes, commissioners, in the interest of time, we have to go back into closed session for a few more items. We are going to not hear the Legislative Committee report today. It is really just a very introductory highlights of bills that have been introduced. It's very early in the leg session.
Comments from people.
Oh, okay. Okay, so yeah, we can, I think that we can go ahead and take public comment on that, but if you don't mind, we would move the rest of it and keep you updated. Yes, we do.
For later?
So should we do maybe we should do, let's go back to, excuse me. Let's go to,
Okay.
maybe we go to public comment and invite that or something.
Why don't we have 30 minutes for lunch and finish this? What do you say? Are we finished?
But I don't
No?
think we have time to do all of it.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's okay. Yeah. How many comments do we have? Public comment. Yeah.
All right, commissioners, we are going to open the Legislative Committee item. We are not going to hear a report, but we are going to hear public comment. So Vice Chair De La Torre Escobedo, will you please convene the committee? No. Well, I think you do need to go through this. But... Correct.
Okay, I now convene the Legislative Committee. The committee has one item before it today. We will announce when the public comment period is open, but we're not presenting the agenda item. Okay. Individuals who are attending the meeting at the commission office will need to submit a request to address the commission card to the meeting moderator. The meeting moderator will notify the individual when it is their turn to speak. At that time, the individual will be able to approach the microphone and share their comment. Individuals who join the meeting via the Zoom webcast will need to click on the raise hand icon to inform the meeting moderator that they would like to speak on the item. The meeting moderator will notify the individual when it is their turn to speak by calling their Zoom ID. Please remember that the Zoom ID is the name used when logging into the meeting. At that time, the individual will be prompted to unmute their microphone and will be able to share their comment. Individuals who join the meeting via the US toll-free number will need to press *9 on their phone to inform the meeting moderator that they would like to speak on the item. The meeting moderator will notify the individual when it is their turn to speak by calling out the last 4 digits of their phone number and will allow them to unmute their telephone. At that time, the individual will be prompted to press *6 and will be able to share their comment. So we are going straight into public comment. Our
Are there members of the public that would like to give a presentation? Please notify the meeting moderator by submitting a request card or clicking on the raised hand icon if participating through Zoom, or pressing *9 if participating by phone. Recording secretary, are there any public comments?
Yes, Harold Acord, please approach the microphone and share your comment.
Good morning, everyone. It's great to be back here in person after such a long time. My name is Harold Acord, and I am speaking on behalf of the 300,000 members of the California Teachers Association, the largest group that utilizes the services of this commission. And this is my 35th year as an educator, as someone who is utilizing the services of this commission. So I'm presently a behavior intervention teacher in Moreno Valley Unified School District at a middle school. I used to be a Spanish teacher, and before that I was a bilingual migrant teacher in Michigan, in Flint, Michigan, and before that I was a classroom aide there. We want to share with you something that happened at our most recent California State Council of Education. It's a group that's been meeting for CTA ever since the 1800s. It meets quarterly. So every quarter, around 800 or so members of CTA from across the state convene for the CTA State Council. They are elected directly by the membership of the California Teachers Association. And there they vote on legislative positions and matters of policy. And in March, those 800 of our members voted unanimously to support a Tier 1 support position for AB 2047. AB 2047 is found on page 4 of the legislative reports insert, and you may reference that. It does call for an end to TPAs and an inquiry into the role high stakes testing plays in perpetuating teacher shortages and a lack of diversity in the California teachers workforce, California educators workforce, I should say. During the last commission meeting, we as CTA did ask what data exists about teachers' perceptions of the usefulness of the TPA for meeting the needs of students in California classrooms. And we learned that at this time, no such data exists. We asked a group of teachers to respond to the following prompt. The TPA was effective in helping to prepare me for the demands of being a teacher in California schools. Of the 330 teachers that responded, 85% strongly disagreed with the statement, and 10% disagreed with the statement. As a representative of those members, I'd like to share a couple of their comments. It was so frustrating staying up late and working all weekend on it. It took away the planning time that I needed for the class I was placed in. It seemed just like just a hoop to jump through. It was tedious and it gave me no prep or insight to day-to-day classroom life. Student teaching was really the best preparation. Scrap the TPA. The last comment I'd like to share from those teachers is I truly feel like it's hazing. Mentor teachers also did weigh in. I did not take the TPA, but as a cooperating teacher, watching my student teacher go through her TPAs, they were worthless. She passed the first time, yay, but the stress they put her under took away from her classroom experience. You know, where you are actually learning and getting real-time feedback. We feel like the commission really needs to look at in teacher preparation programs, are we worried about assessment or are we worried about teacher preparation? It's a very serious issue for the California Teachers Association. We continue to urge the commission respectfully to focus on gathering data from your end users, us, the ones who are actually teaching real kids every day in the real classrooms, the ones whose fees make this independent standards board possible, the reason that you are able to exist. With respect and concern, that is the input that we must give you today from the California Teachers Association. Take care. And it truly is a pleasure. After having said all that, I want to say that it is truly a pleasure to be here, to see you all once again, and to see everyone in good health. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Acord. Recording Secretary, are there any other public comments?
Yes, Ali Della Victoria, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Dr. Lee Della Victoria. I'm an instructional coach in the Fontana Unified School District. I've been in education for over 19 years, and I am also currently a Teach Plus Policy Fellow. While not on this month's agenda, I wanted to take the time to talk with you today and express my support for the newly revised California Standards for the Teaching Profession, or the CSTP. Having read and analyzed the most recent revision of these standards, I strongly believe that they can be transformative for learning experiences in our California classrooms. As an instructional coach, I often work with newer teachers in designing meaningful and culturally relevant learning experiences for our students. I get the opportunity to witness students' faces light up with curiosity and affirmation when diving into research about types of protests, when discovering historical figures that aren't widely known but should be, like Larry Itliong or Bayard Rustin, when openly discussing and brainstorming what they can do about issues in their community. These newly revised CSTP not only encourage, but require that teachers view students using an asset-based mindset, and they honor, affirm, and teach from the identities that their students bring to the classroom. As you can see, I am in full support of these CSTP being approved based on the last published draft. As an educator who has experienced both sides of the professional learning process, both receiving and facilitating PDs, I understand the importance of a thorough and consistent rollout of these standards. We cannot simply introduce them in the moment of an evaluation meeting, for example. These standards must be clearly communicated and demonstrated from the state level to the classroom level. This could look like a state-created training whereby districts can attend and receive guidance on how to roll out the CSTPs with their stakeholders. I also believe there needs to be strong alignment with these standards and what's being taught in preparation institutions. This might look like the redesigning of teacher ed coursework, as well as shifts in the TPEs and how we assess teacher candidates. I hope that when the commission takes up the adoption of these standards, you also put forward a comprehensive rollout plan, and I look forward to being a part of that discussion. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you. Recording Secretary, any other public comments?
Sarah Lillis, please unmute your microphone and share your comment.
Good afternoon. This is Sarah Lillis, the Executive Director for Teach Plus California, and just following up on our fellows Lee Della Victoria's comments. We just wanted to raise up, we're really encouraged by the investments that the governor has proposed in building the capacity of the commission to support our educators and and the growing work around developing a robust and sustainable educator workforce. We are here to help advocate to ensure that those investments and the expansion of these programs continue, both through the legislative and budget processes. But just to Dr. Della Victoria's comments, we were a little disappointed not to have the conversation around the revisions of the CSTP at this meeting, because we're eager to advocate for even greater investment in the commission to really to roll out what we see as really significant transformative shifts in teaching and learning, and are excited to support that work and that advocacy going forward. Thank you.
Thank you.
There are no additional requests for public comment.
Okay, thank you. The public comment period for this item is now closed. Commissioners, any questions or comments on this item? Madam Chair Sloan.
So Commissioners, Executive Director Mary Sandy and I have been talking about the need for having a study session around teaching performance assessment, and really focused on the research and around the efficacy of the performance assessments, because there seem to be a lot of questions around that in the field and others. And it's a really critical part of what we do here, and it's really critical that we understand the data and the evidence and the research around this as we make our decisions moving forward. So we have already talked about having a study session in our June meeting where we can spend more time with some experts and really dig into understanding more about this performance assessment area for all of us to get a good sense on how we work with this. That's just what I wanted to say. With respect to the CSTPs, I appreciate the presenters' comments, and I think they're absolutely right. This is such a critical part of our work as well that we need to pay good attention to and offer other opportunities to have discussions around that as well.
Okay, commissioners. All right. So everybody know action is necessary. This is an info item. Having no additional items today, I adjourn the legislative committee.
Thank you, Commissioner Vice Chair De La Torre Escobedo. The last thing we're going to do before we break for lunch is we are going to go to item 2J on new business. The bi-monthly agenda is presented for information. Are there any audience presentations? Sorry? Yes, okay.
Want to share the screen, Michael?
Thank you. I was actually waiting for a prompt because the recording in progress message came through, so I wasn't sure. Let me go share my screen. Hello, everyone. My name is Michael Lemus, and I'm the Program Outreach and Marketing Manager here at the California Student Aid Commission. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen so Anna can go ahead and get us started. Get this here.
Hello, everyone. My name is Anna Marquez, and I'm with the California Student Aid Commission. I am the manager that oversees specialized programs. And one of the programs that I oversee is the Golden State Teacher Grant, and I would like to give a program overview on this program. For students who are currently enrolled in an approved teacher preparation program, they are eligible to receive a grant up to $20,000. The program must be California-based and approved by CTC. And in addition, internship and teacher residency programs administered through LEAs are also eligible. One requirement is that the students must maintain good academic standing while enrolled. And a second requirement is that students must commit to teach in a high-need field priority school in California for 4 years. The students have 5 years from the date they complete their program to meet the 4-year teaching obligation. All students must first submit a free application for federal student aid or a California DREAM Act application before they apply for the Golden State Teacher Grant Program. And just to clarify to you, what is a high need field? High need field has been identified as bilingual education, science, technology, engineering, or mathematics, better known as STEM. Also career technical education in STEM areas, multiple subject instruction, special education, and traditional kindergarten. I will pass it on to Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Anna. So for folks that are wondering how we're actually going about promoting this new program, we're definitely excited to be actually promoting the program through a variety of different methods. We're really looking at it as a multi-pronged approach. And that's the reason why we're super excited to actually be here, because we can definitely use your assistance in getting the word out about this amazing resource. So we do have a social media toolkit that actually just got launched last week, which I will share shortly after this presentation. There's about 2 more slides. And then we have some graphics that we've also created for social media, but that can also be posted in different areas like websites, can be printed out. We made it really easy where folks can literally just download these images, as well as sample messaging points that can go ahead and be tied to these images if folks are wanting to go ahead and share it in places like Instagram or Facebook or LinkedIn. We also have a dedicated flyer to the program, as well as a brochure. And we're also looking at creating a list of interested folks in the program that we can send emails, texts to. We do actually have a texting platform here at CSAC now. So we're really wanting to do more of that specialized outreach so that we ensure that we're reaching as many people as possible when it comes to these programs. The last piece I'll just go ahead and mention there is that when it comes to our strategic partners, we're really going to want to go ahead and work with folks like you all to identify different organizations, different groups that we should be reaching out to on behalf of the commission so that folks are aware that this does exist and that there are many ways that they can go ahead and access us here at the commission in order to learn more information. So just a bit about how we're promoting it. As far as some resources, before I just do another quick screen share, you could visit us at our website. So we have our website listed here in the number 1. And we also do have an FAQ sheet. We have an application site in addition to a web page that has more information about the program. The social media toolkit, which I'm about to share with you all, is also available in its own web page format. And of course, folks can go ahead and email us at goldenstateteachers@csac.ca.gov. We also sent these slides over, so I believe you all have copies and can also be emailed. And last but not least, before I share our social media toolkit, you all can find us on social media at CA Student Aid. We're really easy to find. And then also visit our website. And again, email us at goldenstateteachers@csac.ca.gov. So I'm going to stop my share screen here. And then I'm going to share one more thing, which is our toolkit. And then we'll be done. So let me go ahead and share this here. All right. So I'll share my screen. And if someone can just confirm that you all can go ahead and see our webpage.
You know what? Unfortunately, Michael, we can't see it. The public can see it. Never mind. Got it. Now we can see it.
Okay, great. I know sometimes it takes a little bit. I will make this quick, but we do have a social media toolkit that has all of our information about the program, in addition to the websites that I mentioned, as far as the application site and information on the actual program itself. We have an FAQ, and to save some time, I won't go through all the files, but I did want to show you the graphics that we did develop, all of which can easily be, again, just downloaded straight from the website. We have a sample caption that folks can use below, and as well as an additional graphic that could be used more for Instagram for a standard standalone version. We do have a flyer, which I will go ahead and show you all here. And we also have a brochure that actually just got launched today, which you all can access as well. So again, we just really want to make this process really easy. We have a sample caption where literally people can copy and paste, because we do hear from our partners sometimes that they just don't have the bandwidth to also create all these materials, or sometimes they literally just want to copy and paste something and get out the word. That was our goal. I believe that we have definitely gotten it to a point where folks can really just easily access it, and we're just going to continuously add to our resources. But we're very excited to go ahead and be here. And if you all have any other ways that we can go ahead and work closer together to make sure that we get the word out about this program, we would greatly appreciate it. But I will go ahead and stop sharing and open it up in case there are any questions.
Thank you both so much for coming here and doing this presentation. This is one of the most important ways that we can recruit people into the profession, is helping them actually pay for their preparation to become a teacher. Unfortunately, we can't actually do discussion because it's not agendized for that purpose. We could only hear your comments. But we all have the slides, and we will certainly be posting them on our website under this agenda item, so other people can get this information, and I have no doubt commissioners are going to be sharing as well.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other audience presentations?
There are no additional audience presentations.
All right. All right. So I know I said we are going to lunch. I just would like to read the report of the ad hoc committee. And let me just say to all of you, the reason this has happened is we have a very long closed session we did not finish yesterday, and we need to go into closed session again. So the last thing we're going to do before going to a working lunch is item 2H, interview recommendation and appointment of members for the Committee on Accreditation. This committee is so critically important. I don't want to shortchange but to highlight the importance of those that have been nominated. The ad hoc committee recommends the appointment of Katrina Chakowski, Alan Hallis, Augustin Cervantes to the Committee on Accreditation beginning July 1st, 2022. Thank you all for agreeing to be a part of this work. The committee also recommends that Patricia Pernin and Kathy Kreisha be appointed as alternates for the Committee on Accreditation. I move to approve the recommendations of the ad hoc committee. Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Martinez. Any further discussion? I know all of you want to say important, excellent things about the work of this committee, and we will give you your chance next time. All right, all those in favor say aye. All those opposed? Wonderful, motion carries. Okay, guess what? Lunchtime. Commissioners, we need to do a working lunch, so we need to give you about 30 minutes to go get your lunch and come back. 30 minutes, okay, so 10 after, back in our seats. All right, and we'll adjourn. Okay, so I'm going to now, what am I doing? I am not adjourning. We are recessing. Thank you. Recessing the general session. When we come back from lunch, we will go into closed session. Thank you. All right, I'd like to reconvene the general session and move to agenda item 2I, report of the closed session items. Vice Chair De La Torre Escobedo, would you please read the report?
Yes. So closed session items. Staff briefed the commission on potential litigation and no reportable action was taken. The commission granted the following petitions for reinstatement: Joshua Almond and Constance Lemon. The commission denied the following petitions for reinstatement: Natalie Batts, Devin Boyle, Bevan Grossman, Kenneth Johnson, Miroku Nemeth. Commissioner De La Torre recused from the following matters: Natalie Batts, Bevan Grossman, and Kenneth Johnson. The commission adopted the proposed decision in the matter of Brandon Jones. The commission rejected the proposed decision in the matter of Charles Drolet and called for the transcript. The commission reviewed the transcript in the matter of James Byerly. The commission adopted the administrative law judge's proposed decision, and I, Commissioner De La Torre Escobedo, recused from this matter. The commission reviewed the transcript in the matter of Griselda Jauregui. A decision and order will be prepared for the commission's adoption. The commission ordered a 30-day delay for preparation of the decision and order. Commissioner De La Torre recused from this matter. The commission reviewed the transcript in the matter of Liam McConville. A decision and order will be prepared for the commission's adoption. The commission ordered a 30-day delay for preparation of the decision and order. Commissioner De La Torre recused from this matter. The commission reviewed the transcript in the matter of Rebecca Harris. A decision and order will be prepared for the commission's adoption, and the commission ordered a 30-day delay for preparation of the decision and order. The commission reviewed the transcript in the matter of Lupe Perez. A decision and order will be prepared for the commission's adoption. The commission ordered a 30-day delay for preparation of the decision and order. The commission reviewed the transcript in the matter of Mary Pierce. A decision and order will be prepared for the commission's adoption. The commission ordered a 30-day delay for preparation of the decision and order. The commission adopted a decision and order in the matters of Paul Stein and Mauricio Zelaya. The commission discussed consent calendar items number 4, Mel Brentius, and number 16, Jane Staples, and remanded the matters back to the Committee of Credentials. The commission discussed consent calendar item number 13, Carmelo Perez, and accepted the recommendation of the Committee of Credentials. And this concludes the closed session items.
Thank you, Commissioner, Vice Chair Del Toro Escobedo. All right, I now adjourn the April 2022 meeting of the Commission on Teacher Credentialing. The next meeting is on June 16th and 17th, 2022. There we go.